are welcome back. It underscore again to back again to the root of today. Here we are, it's one-on-one live that we're going to be coming to you live, which is one-on-one from wherever you are and coming from. So hectic and heterozygously, it's so confusing right now, and how the things are just running. This kind of the movement of today and how the things are gonna be. So have much of the story to tell because it has been krakatooing up and down. For us to reach this kind of the brim point, even starting this kind of the life right now here, it has just taken a lot of a time for us to have this kind of fantastic moment for us to reach this kind of the break point, because it has been up and down until we have just reached this kind of the segment of today. Three people already have democratized to make sure that we are going to be getting this kind of the video going forward. Thank you very much for you being tuned and locked in, because things are going to be coming, listening with interest. Thank you very much. 21 people already on the spot here. Exactly. Thank you very much, everyone who's been tuned and locked in. I'm welcoming you back to the channel to make sure that we're just vibing and commencing this kind of the video. Here we go. Hello again to watching from Barbados. Thank you very much, Betty Jones. A thumbs up done. Thank you very much, everyone who's been locked here already to listen to the story, how it is and what's really happening for today, because we are demoralized and we are getting so disturbed up to now. But what is really happening right now? Getting this kind of fantastic. Hi, Monica Williams. Thank you much. Gintu. Hi, my son. Thank you much. Bahama Mama 69. Thank you much for you being tuned. Here we have today. We have much of the things to reveal, because we have a very long story to tell and how it has been and what is really happening. Because much of the people are talking about, oh, do we expected to see Mayani besides you, and we're getting this kind of the life going on here. It's going to be coming this kind of the point, and I'm going to be telling you what is really happening from the entire point, very early in the morning, 6:30 in the morning until 7 at night. What was being handled in that kind of the period of time, and what is really achieved, and at what pace, in which pace, and how did we make it, and where have we reached? And did he go to the court? Because early in the morning, we democratized very early in the morning to make sure that we are just getting much of the tea, so they can just get the tea to the custody, so as he can just take some sips and make sure that he understands that people are still behind him and to the custody as going to be leaving the custody. But from there, we found that things are not going the way it was. But we have much of the things to tell right now here. Thank you very much, everyone has been tuned and locked in. For us, you can just get this kind of the story, how it's going to be starting from and how it's getting forward to. Let me start this way. We have already 43 people already democratizing here to make sure they're going to be getting much of the story getting forward. And what I can just tell much of the people is we are no longer having any hate to anyone, and having any kind of absolutely talking about anyone right now here, talking about this is what, or claiming this is how it is, or claiming this how it was. But we have to state at how it is and how it was, and who are behind, and how is everything getting to the brim point of right now. I know much of the people are watching and listening in with a very big interest, as we're going to be making sure that everything is so fantastic. As I'm just greeting much of the people who are just available. Hello, everyone. Greetings from Holland. Thank you very much. June Hay. Thank you very much. Green Dollar Davies. 13 likes. 15 people already democratized here. And whoever is just tuned here, thank you very much for you being tuned. And it's just some couple of just 1 hour. I was just preparing to make sure that I'm just coming to this kind of a live, because it has been krakatooing to my senses on how I'm gonna be talking about how it's gonna be coming, how it's gonna be framed here and there, because everything is just coming to you live, which is one-on-one. And whoever is just here, Vicoril, thank you very much for your tuned in, and also talk about Juni. Thank you very much for you being tuned and locked in. 58 people already watching the live, 62 already democratized here. So guys, when we reach about 70, let me get this kind of the story to the brain point here, because much of the people are starting to get, oh, Gintu, how is it, how it was, how gonna be it coming, and everything is just gonna be coming to you live, because there's nothing can ever evaporate from my head from A and how we started until when we just reached and to the brim point. 72 people already democratized here. Thank you very much. So guys, how the story is. Very early in the morning, I woke up. It was at 6:30. I was already prepared to make sure that I'm heading to Nyabuhanse, where we had a plan of meeting all of us, including the father of Mayani, me as Gintu, talk about Fundi Duke, talk about the cousin to Mayani, and also one of the other YouTubers is just related to the family, because we had to get much of the people who belongs to the same family of Mayani, so you can just make sure that we are going there while we are very strong. Exactly. So we rushed. We used one of the motorbike of one of the YouTuber called Masare 001, and also the other motorbike was for Fundi Duke. And we make sure that we are just fueling them so we can just go to Sirari faster before we ever arrange that we have to go to Sirari police station, so as we can just get him before he could just get to be transported to the court. And eventually, and the good thing is we found him, and I was just being prepared to get out and make sure that they're just heading to the court. And what I want to tell you is the court is no longer at Isibania, no longer at Nyabuanze. The court is several kilometers. How like those kind of the kilometers? It's like 20 something, 25 kilometers from Sirari police station to where the court is in Kihancha. So when we just reached there, we found that, oh, they have already prepared themselves. They have already organized the people who are just going to get to the court. I thought about, oh, I found that yesterday when I went there, Mayani, to the custody there were so many people heaped there. And I thought about, oh, maybe tomorrow it will be a very huge group of people will be taken to the court. But eventually when I reached there early in the morning, I found that it's only Mayani. Only Mayani was to be taken to the court very early in the morning today. And I talked about, okay, how is everything here? I talked to this kind of the officers. Can he take the tea first before he could just go? They talk about, no. This is a defiler. This is just a person who has just talk about a defile, and talking about, oh, this is just a person who is making some awkward things to the family. I talked about, okay, don't talk bad. Where can't we discuss this kind of the things here? No. We are going. I talked about, okay, let's meet there, because it's several kilometers. I know it. And they have to take Mayani and also to take other people from Migori prison, so they can just go with them. The people are just in remand, so they can just go with them to the talk about the court, which is headed at Kehancha station. So what was there is we had to leave the vehicle for you can call them the police vehicle, so they can just leave the station with Mayani only. Mayani was only in, and I don't know why he ever called himself only Mayani. And today even it was only Mayani and to this kind of the Mariamu, and they went with him. So we had to come, we had to follow the back to make sure that everything is just getting very fantastic. We had to rush like Zavali Rally. So the first people went, we will talk about the cousin to Mayani and also the father to Mayani. And we went there knowing that everything is going to be getting good because we had arranged everything. But I left the other boy during the last night still discussing much of the issues there and talking about some lactic things that are going to be not bring some of or going to be bringing some of the krakatuing of the time. I talked about, okay, there's no problem. So we sorted ourselves, then talked about, let's go to this kind of the court. So we had to make sure that we are using the motorbikes here now. So we went to the court, and when we reached there, the session had not started until, talk about 9 a.m. It had not started until 10, like 10:15. we were now called, but when Mayani reached there, it was just placed at the back of the cell. They have some cells in the cast, talk about in the court there. So when we reached there, we were allowed to see him and a little bit exchange some ideas here and there, so they can just understand what's really happening. And he was not intimidated muchly, but he was softly understanding what was just getting forward and how it was. And we talked about this kind of the case. You just make sure that everything is just. I will not break much over how this kind of the talk it was because it's gonna be bringing much of the shenanigans here. So the real fact was to make sure that we are just preparing him whenever we're gonna be getting to the court. Has to understand what we're gonna be talking about and at what pace he's gonna be talking and which kind of the words he's gonna be using in terms of his case and to the court, because it was the first hearing. It could not have much of the do's talking about, oh, we want this kind of the party, we want the other party. No, it's just hearing of your case. You nullify or you clarify so that they can just understand that this is what, or you talk about guilty or not guilty, yes or no. That's what is only at the first hearing point of that kind of the case. So when the court started, it was court 2, and talk about the prosecutors that were there, talk about the judge was a male, and just sat and everybody was just standing, and you know the orders of the court. And the first person came, the second person, then the third person was Mayani, and he was the last person to be called to come to this kind of the session. The first person had much of several years. He was just sentenced several years, like more than 25 years, that kind of the cases there. The second one was having some minor cases, talking about the stickers of the vehicle, and he was driving a vehicle with no sticker, driving a vehicle with talk about the tire has worn out, and that was the case, and it was billed out. And they talked about, oh, now there's a cash bill here. Then I talked about, okay, there's I'm gonna be make sure that everything is just getting to the brim point. So we had to make sure that we are waiting for our boy Mayani one-on-one to democratize into the chamber. So the time reached. Now the name was heard. Brian Marwa, called him Brian Marwa. I was waiting for Mayani. It was not democratized there. So I talked about, okay, let me hear from this one. You called Brian Marwa. He was called as the third accused person into the chamber. So he went and just stood, and the judge talked about which kind of the language do you hear? Mayani talked about Kiswahili. Then there's a translator who's always there. The judge going to be talking in English and going to be translating. Talk about the prosecutor was there to read much of the mistakes and whatever he was just being caught with. What I had was talk about two accusations. Talk about one was talking about he took a girl of school. No, I took a girl who is aged 13 and 14 years, and talk about Mayani refused. I has never done that one. And also it went to the second case, which is he just took his own male part and inserted to the female part of this kind of the minor. Then Mayani nullified. And the case was just mentioned that he should not have a cash bill, but it will go with a bond of 100,000 Kenya shillings worth an asset. Then that's where now everything just started. Though I was just sitting very calmly and talking about, let me wait for this kind of the cash bill to come. But when I heard that there's no cash bill, and even what was good about Mayani, I raised up the hand and talked about, Judge, please, why can't I, what about the cash bill? The judge talked about there's no cash bill here. I have nullified that there's no cash bill gonna be in this kind of the case. Talking about defilement case doesn't have a cash bill or a cash bill that's gonna be getting you out. Then we talked about, oh my living God, even I sweated. I'm telling you guys, I sweated talking about a bond of 100,000. And when we went to the, it was so flabbergasting. And I talked about our mission, the first mission failed. And talking about going to be a cash bill, we're going to be talking about the cash bill going to be coming to you like Zafari Rally. And I talked about, okay, there's no problem about that one. So what are we going to be doing? So it was told that until 13, something like date 13 after 14 days, so you can just go back to the court and make sure that you're going to be having the second hearing and to the court. So what next? It was just returned to the cell to make sure that we are just processing whatever they are just talking about the bonding here. So now we had to gather ourselves again, talking about when we went there, we had a default of a scenario. Imagine we went there and much of the people are talking about there's no entry to the judiciary, a compound without a national ID. Oh my living God. I understand much of whenever I'm going to this kind of we went, somebody's talking about again to any court video. We were not allowed to have any kind of a video or any shooting around the compound of talk about the court session, talk about the judiciary department. We are not allowed to get him. It's Ernest took him to the court. I'm coming to Ernest where he's coming into this kind of the point. And first, I'm just talking about how it was written in terms of the statement that's going to be going to the court, so it can just be read and everything going to be coming to the real focusment here. So when this kind of the pronunciations were coming out from the judge, there's some of things that missed and to that kind of the report that they just took to the court there to be nullified, to be talk about it, to be heard there and to the court there. What was it? Two things were missing. One, they were asked with the judge, where is the original certificates for the ladies? I don't know where this kind of the people got talk about copies of talk about a birth certificate. I'm telling you, there's things that are not getting to the good brim point of us here, and it's not reading as very fantastic. What am I talking about here? When the judge talked about where is the original certificate, birth certificate for the ladies who you are talking about, who is 13 and 14 years, then the prosecutor said that they have not yet been brought to the table. Number two, he asked about who is the complainant of this kind of the case. This kind of the guy who is a prosecutor said we don't have anyone who is representing right now this kind of the case. It's only the police who is having that kind of the mandate, who wrote that kind of the statement. Then I talked about, okay, thank you very much. So we can understand. Some people can just understand in terms of the law enforcement. Who has just got me? Thank you very much. You have got me what I mean. So I'll not have much of the details about that one, about how this kind of the things happened to get to the court with no real certificates for this kind of the lady. Now you can sense what was really meant and to this kind of the way and for Mayani to be accused and get to, how did they get this kind of the photocopies, the copies of the birth certificate for this kind of the lady. And when the judge asked about where is the original certificate, they talked about they don't have it. How did they get that kind of a copy of talk about a certificate, with a birth certificate of the lady? And who told them that the lady is 13, 14 years? So you can quote my word, much of the texted, the talk about this kind of the messages that were texted are the ones that are being used there, because how the text were reading is talking about he's having a lady who is 13, 14 years are there, and that's how the messages were reading. And when we go back to the statement talking about he has ever inserted his male part to the female part of this kind of the lady who is accused. And when I come to this kind of the point again, we go back to the text. It was reading that Mayani has married, and this was how the text were written, and this kind of the person they were communicating about. So you can get where the case is coming from. So I can just you can now understand the real fact about where this kind of the case is coming from and where it's just heading. And to the real fact is when this kind of the things missed, the judge talked about what now the case will be just heard on 13th May 2025, in the same room, court 2, which is court 2, and making sure that I'm going to be hearing. And he announced that this kind of the accused person will just only get out to be free or do the case outside with a bond of 100,000 or an asset. Talking about you're going to be bringing any kind of the pay slip. I talk about the payslip was number one that was mentioned. Talk about a title deed was number two, or you can use a logbook. Either talk about a logbook of either a motorbike, which is worth. So when we talked about, okay, now we have got that it's a bond. So what do we have? Gintu, the father to Mayani, Fundi Duke. We had the cousin to Mayani, and also we had the other border who is called Masare 001. Then we talked about, okay, how are we going to do this one? What do we have? We settled ourselves talking about the people told us, how we just Googled and we were told that this kind of the guys going to be coming out with a cash bill. No, the cash bill was not allowed. Even when Mayani complained that, oh, why can't I have a cash bill out? The judge refused and talked about, no, the cash bill will never be allowed here. The only thing that will be allowed is a bond, and I'm clear. Then we talked about, okay, we are now kaboom netted. Then we sat down first and we, what next? Then we just got out and we gathered there as a group as we went to make sure that we are just getting the real point that is getting to the fantastic mode. Then what happened? We discussed and we came out to know that Mayani, they have a vehicle and to their home. But that vehicle, it is a third hand. So it was a second, then the father to Mayani bought it. Now it's a third hand. So it has not been changed from the name or the talk about this kind of the logbook. Name has not been changed from the second owner to the third owner, who is the father to Mayani. So we nullified that a logbook from that kind of the period table. Then we talked about, okay, what next? Do we have a payroll salary? And we talked about no. Who is having? Am I going to talk to YouTube so they can just handle me so they can just give my payroll? Talk about the payroll salary so they can just be put there as making sure that things are just getting on. We talked about how is it going to happen. So it will be just krakatwing. Whoever is there around, no, nobody is having any kind of the pay a pay slip. Then we talked about, oh my living God. The third thing was to make sure that we are getting now. We are now sticking to one point. We are only going to stick in one point. Talking about, are we having a title deed? I talked about, yes, I have it. Like me, I have it. Then I just talked to Funduk, talked about they're having some 2-3 issues with this kind of the lands here and there. Then the other cousin talked about the land, but it's not his, but it belongs to the father. Then he talked about, I don't know if I can talk to my father, and we get it. But we asked about, even Mayani himself, they have a land, and we have the father here. So we asked the father that, do you have a title deed of your plot? Then the father talked about, yes, I have a title deed of my plot. We talked about, oh my living God. Thank you very much. This is one point. We are now getting to the real point here. Then we continue with the session, talking about, okay, where are we going to start with? And then I asked one of the police officers there and the reception, talking about, we want to see them. I talked about we have the title deed. What are we going to do? And how are we going to sort it out? Then he talked about, we want to see the title deed here. So if you don't have it here, how am I going to help you if I don't see the title deed? We talked about, hey, the father to Mayani and the border, rush back to Nyabuhanse, get this kind of the title deed, then come back with it to the station there. Then we had to sit down, relax, and make sure that we are just cooking which kind of the offices are we going to go, so they can just before that kind of the title deed could come, we should make sure that we are driving there the way to make sure that Mayani could not get out of the court before he could have handled this kind of the issues. Then the highway was so long. You have understood, 23 kilometers. So they had to rush 23 kilometers with the bumpy roads. It's a very bumpy road. You understand now the Chinese, they have just democratized here in Kenya. They are making roads which are so bumped.
They are putting bombs after every 100 meter. After 100 meter, there's a bomb. Then it's just a and you have to understand this kind of the scenario in Africa. So we talked about, okay, there's no problem. They rushed back home, and the border and the father to Mayani. Then I talked about come with a national ID and come with that title deed, original, and it's yours. Then whenever they came after, like, it was like 1 hour 45 minutes. Then it was already lunchtime. It was already 14 lunchtime, because it took some sessions between, so as you can just have to negotiate and make sure that we are getting to the same answer. So when they arrived, it was around approaching 14 hours at lunchtime. Then we took those kind of the title deed. I just took it, then I saw, then I talked about, yes, it's having the same name from the ID, and from this kind of the title deed, it's reflecting. Then I went forward and talked about, okay, let me start with the reception. We went to the DCI because we were told from there go to the DCI, and they just talk about nullify this kind of and talk about scrutinize this kind of the report that you have come with. Talk about the title deed, because it has so when we went there, we were talking about, okay, now we have the title deed. Now we are going to talk about, yeah, we have the title deed, put the title deed there, right? The title deed is here, and everything is attained, and we get Mayani out. Oh, my living God. After we just arrived, the prosecutor went. It was around 14 hours at lunchtime. Then the talk about the people were just whoever was sentenced, and the other lady, the guys who are two, the cases were three. They were just taken to remand, and we just saw how the action was. Then we talked about we are undergoing with the process of making sure that we're gonna be landing to the remand. Then we're gonna get him out from the remand. Then what followed from that kind of the place? We just took this kind of the title deed to this kind of the reception. Then the DCI talked about, no, we want the letter from the talk about the reception. Then the reception, when we went to the reception, we were told that now this kind of the title deed you have, you should be compensated with the other things. We talked about, oh my living God. So we have the title deed already. So what next? Talking about we need a surveyor. We need a person to go and survey the land. We need the DCI to nullify that this kind of the title deed belongs to this man. And much of the issues, KRA pins and much things, they were like 8 points, 8 sections in terms of the title deed protocols. Then we talked about, my living God. So it's gonna be so bumpy. Then we had to make sure that we are starting. Because we talked about there's no going backward. No going backward. It's from, we have to go forward. Then I talked about, okay, where am I going to start with? I talked about, guys, every office you are moving. Because for you to get a surveyor to come to the land, check the land, and go back with talk about the report, and take the chief's stamps, talk about chief's report from the village, get to there, because it is the 23 kilometers from Nyaboanse, from Sirare, making sure that from Nyaboanse, it will be more than 30 kilometers already. So we talked about, oh my living, what are we going to do here? Guys, this is a fact. So we had to make sure that we are making the proposal get forward. We had to be Judas Iscariot. We had to be Judas. That is the real fact. So as this kind of the issue should be handled with an immediate effect, so as we can just make sure that everything is just getting out. So what happened from that kind of the position? We talked about, okay, let's move forward and make sure that we are live chat message visible here. Yeah. Then we talked about, okay, what are we going to do? Somebody is asking about Juni. Mayani father and Maja father are brothers. Exactly, they are brothers. Then we talked about, okay, what are we going to do from this kind of the panel? I started talking about we are going to the land surveyor. Whoever the land department talk about, it's a sub-county. It's called a sub-county, Kihancha. It's called Kihancha sub-county or Kuria West sub-county, which is the headquarters is located at Kihancha station. Then we went to the land. Then they talked about, okay, you have to go and pay money to e-citizen to allow them to check the report, to check that's kind of the title deed if it's there and to their files and to their system. So and make sure that we are getting the e-citizen and pay the money to e-citizen, which is a Kenya talk about a Kenya payway, that you can not only pay money to Kenya authority via those kind of the e-citizen in terms of getting the revenue to Kenya. Then we had to go and process the passports for the father and make sure that we are having the owner of the land, which was the only thing that we had. Then we had to go to the cyber process, talk about refile the returns, talk about KRA refiling the returns, talk about the father had no even refiled the returns. You understand the life of the village, guys. Refiling the returns of KRA pin, which is talk about a KRA pin. Which is approximately, much of the people ask about which is this KRA pin. KRA pin is talk about these are of a revenue. These are refining the revenue of yourself and talking about how you are just progressing. So we had to refile the KRA pin, and also it is a refiling. He had just messed with the talk about the days. He has never been refiling the returns of KRA for several months. So I had to refile the returns of Mayani's father, and to make sure that we are returning, it was a 3-month. Every year you have to return with 2,000 Kenya shillings. Then I talked about, things gonna be getting worse. So we had to return the returns of 3 years up to date. Then I talked about, okay, well, let's do it because we want to make it happen. Then they did it. Then they talked about pay this kind of it's called a search. Whenever you are being given that this kind of from the land office, you are told that go to the cyber, tell them that you want a search. You go with your title deed. Then we go with the title deed, and we talked about we have been asked to for you to have a search. Then the guy now talked about, a search, yeah, it's this money. Then I know this. No, you have to pay. You have to get the money into your M-Pesa. Then you have to pay to the e-citizen. Then we paid. The passport was taken. It took us long because for you to refile the returns, for you to get the passport, and also what was the name? For you to get the this kind of the stamps of the title deed. Then we come with them to the lands again. Then when we reached the land, we were given a bulky of the stamps here. I'm talking about go back with this kind of the stamps to the DCI so they can just understand that this is the real owner of the land and ascertain and put the stamps and everything, and that is the real fact. So when I'm just speaking this kind of the story, it's how it was systematically. Then we went to the DCI to make sure that we are getting satisfied, or this kind of the document to be satisfied that the DCI, they have seen the actual thing that's getting on. Then we talked about, okay, there's no problem from that one. So they ascertained and they talked about who is the owner is here. Check the ID, check the number of the plot, check the name of the title deed. Then they were ascertained and talked about, okay, let's go forward with making sure that everything is just getting forward. Then we just got out from the DCI. Again, we were sent to go and pick the number, talking about the serial number of the plot from, again, the land office. Then we had to go there and line up because there are so many people. There are people who need, talk about they want title deeds for their plots. There are people there who are just waiting for bonding their own people. There are people there lining, and we have to queue. So for you to make sure that you are being favored, for us to make it easier, you understand the Judas Iscariotism. It has to make sure that things are just getting to the brim point. So what was next from that kind of the point? We had to be very quick for us to be, we were just pumping ourselves. Today is today, tomorrow gonna be another day. No, we have to go with Mayani today. Then when we reached there, then we were told that now the serial number is this one. Again, and to the land office, they talk about the CEO, the person is the chairperson of the land's office. He has no longer available. We talked about, okay, no problem. Let's wait for him. Then he was called. Then we just make sure that everything is just getting to the point. Then we came back and everything was just sorted out, and we had everything to the evidence. Then we were just taken back to the judiciary to go and take Mayani out. Now this is the point. Now we had all the papers, ascertained that we have all the papers to get Mayani out. When we went there, it was around 5 in the evening. Talk about 17 hours in the evening. Then when we reached there, we were told that the prosecutor went around 14 hours lunchtime, and he went because today there were no much work was to be done. And also they are talking about tomorrow in Kenya. Talk about here we are right now. Tomorrow, which is the 1st, we're going to be having something called Labor Day. This is for this kind of the people, you know, the Labor Day for much of the workers. So it will be the Workers' Day. So tomorrow we're going to be having a public holiday. So much of the people have already democratized to go and check much of the things how they're just happening outside there. So there's no one who was there. The prosecutor was no longer there, but we have ascertained everything. We have all the certificates, and every certificate is bumped with the rubber stamp, and we went with them there, but we were told that the prosecutor is no longer available. He's the only person to write for you that you go to the custody where now Mayani could be, so they can just take him out from the custody. What is now coming out is tomorrow we are not going to the offices because it's gonna be a public holiday, and there's no offices, public offices gonna be doing the work. So it will be on Friday again. So it was bumping, and we were finding ourselves flabbergasted, and we ever not know how to do this kind of and to deal with this kind of the things. But we have to, and we told Mayani himself that tomorrow is tomorrow gonna be a public holiday, but we notified him. The good thing is we notified him that we're never gonna be processing this, and even he stood there so as he can just wait for us to process, and they're gonna be getting him out from that kind of the panel. And we told him that if we're gonna be very bad today, if we could not make it on Friday morning, I'll be there to make sure that whenever this kind of the prosecutor is back to the judiciary, Gento is the prosecutor with the prosecutor, make sure that is writing there, to make sure that he's writing all this kind of the documents, and we're gonna be getting to it's called Migori Maximum Prison, where he has just been put as a remand from today. So what I can just talk about is we have tried the best for a person who understands the lawful things, talking about your person has been caught with a bond. You understand, even if you have a title deed, a person who understands the court, you know the talk about the steps you have to follow for you to put that kind of a title deed to be allowed for much of the people to check on it, and to be nullified until you get to the prosecutor. It's not a joke. It can take even a week before you can just get it there. But me, I have processed it with like 3 hours. Then I had finished everything. It's only that we were not aware that it's going to be a bond. We were talking about going to be a cash bill, so you can just deal with it simultaneously. But much of the people, when this kind of the people left at the station, they were talking much of the things. So you can never understand what was just taking the place. Where is Ernest proof? Because I still haven't seen or heard other than Mugesi confirming it on a cell phone to Whiteman, which is suspect to itself. What's just getting to this kind of the point is what I just got there to the court there. The case was just a framing whatever was just into that kind of the texts, because everything that was being read unto the court, it was really reflecting from that kind of the text, how the texts were, because I have them. Because it was saying that Mayani has got talk about is using talk about a girl who is an age of 13 to 14 years, and to the real fact of the time, the real certificate it's showing, it's 17 approaching 18 years, and that is the certificate I just talked about. Even there, it's written, even that kind of a copy of a certificate, talk about a copy of a birth certificate. I saw it with my eyes. It's reading 17 approaching 18 years. And when they reached there, it was turned that it is 13 to 14 years. Then I talked about, oh my living God, here we have a long way to go. So the real fact about it is that the same texts, how they were, are the same way how they were put onto the court. That's the real fact. I'm telling you that as a fact. That's how it was. And how it was is that when we just came out, let me tell you how it is. Let me tell you again, the other thing. I came out from the court and making sure that I'm processing, I'm having all the papers. Then I had somebody calling to this kind of the police officers and talking about there's a case that is there, and make sure that you are not getting those kind. I have seen much of the people who are just following this kind of the case, and get them not to have this kind of the reports here. But they just called while I had already processed everything. And I was told with the DCI officers, why are people just psyching whatever they cannot even psych? Sometimes we have to talk about, we are trying to make it happen. Much of the people are still phoning the calls to make sure that they're just turning some things out and making sure things are not happening good. So the good thing is, Famous Bree, you are talking about 17 years, is still underage. Mayani is so Famous Bree, I don't understand. Did you use a time machine to go back in the time? Oh my God. The good fact is, when the judge was asking about give me the real certificates, and they talk about the birth certificate, and they never did it, because from that kind of a certificate, how it was just accusing that they have to make sure that Mayani is put inside. But when we go back to the real effect, to the mother, whom was ever talking about the lady is 18 approaching 19 years, and she's the only person who has the birth certificates, the original ones. Now, where is this kind of the copy coming from? Some people have to sense it, and some people have to understand it very urgently, because things are just changing at a proximate method. They're just changing anyway, and you have to understand it. So when I came out from that kind of the place, I had to make sure that I'm coming direct to get my GoPro today, and I make sure that everything is just the mother should have the real birth certificate. The mother is the only person who has the real certificate. Exactly, Kimberly. Talking about the other people who have a copy, I don't know where they got the copies from, and they had some copy from there. I don't know how they got the copy, but the mother and even the judge asked for the originals. The originals were no longer available. And where did the copy come from? I don't understand, but it was there. And how the things are just going is that we are just being hooked up already. And when I went back to the DCI, I came from Kehancha direct to the DCI Isibania post. Then when I reached at Isibania police post, which is making sure that I'm just checking to the DCI to get my GoPro, because I talked about, let me get there. Whenever they're going to be talking about they're going to not give me, we're going to be sorting everything out. Then I passed through there. Then I was told that Ginto, come to this kind of the office here. Then I was starting, and they started talking about, oh, Gintu, have you got the boy out? Because they saw me at there, and talking about, okay, Gintu, process it. Then we'll just come to Sirare, DCI office. Then we can just talk. Then I talked about, hey, whenever I come, bro, give me my GoPro, man. Then he talked about, no problem, you just come. Then when I went to that kind of a place, then I was talking about, okay, can you give me the GoPro here and there? They talked about again. Whenever Mayani gonna be getting out from the prison, gonna be on Friday morning, again another case is filed to the DCI with this goon of Nyaboanse. I don't. Now I was flabbergasted. So we are just flabbergasted. And what I can just talk about is I was told so many things that this kind of the goon from Nyaboanse is accusing and talking about things which are terrible. And this kind of the DCI, they have taken Mayani's phone. I'm telling you the fact, Mayani right now, the phone is taken. Even Mayani asked me, Kid, whenever I'm going to the court, please make sure that he was even crying, talking about make sure that you get my phone from the officer. And when I got to the officer who took that kind of the phone, the cell phone, he talked about the cell phone for Mayani is at the DCI. I talked about what's the problem with the DCI again. So I talked about when I finish this one first, let me come for the phone. Now I went for the phone and my own GoPro. Then I was told that this kind of the things are withheld, and we are still making some of the follow up to understand, because the person who is reporting this kind of the matter is a YouTuber from Nyaboanse who is claiming that this kind of the boy should go back. I'm still talking about, and I was told, guys, I'm telling you that as a fact. I was told that whenever Mayani is coming from the prison there, I should make sure that I'm getting him to the DC. I talked about why again to arrest him. I talked about no, let him arrest a little bit here and there. So we had to argue here and there so we can just have this kind of the issue settled out. And he's talking about no, this kind of the person is talking about, oh, you know, this and this and this and this and this. Even the phone of Mayani, I don't know if it will be returned. It will be like my GoPro. And they're talking about it will just go to Nairobi for much of verification. Again, I don't know. Hey, guys, we are praying, and we have to pray so hard to make sure that the things are just. Ernest is in his and Mayani is in his early 20s. So sad. And I'm not just getting, but we are just trying to make it happen. But when the real G is available, I told you that much of the things here, you just leave me this kind of the things here. I will just sort them out. It's only that much of the people are undertaking it as a slight thing here and there, but I'm going to be making sure that everything is possible, because where we have come from is far to where we are just heading, because it's just making sure that, and what I'm going to be doing is, because how I'm just seeing this kind of the issues are going, if we don't make sure that this kind of the issues are settled, because every time they're talking about, yeah, from here to here, from this, from that one to that one, it seems that they have planned for Mayani's life. And Kim is talking about how can they make all these arrests without any probable cause. You know, guys, what I want to tell you is in Kenya, like or anyone, even me right now, whenever I go to the DCI, I tell them that, do you know that this kind of a person has done me terrible, has done this, and I be Judas Iscariot a little bit? They'll come for me like Safari Rally. You understand what the conduct did to me? Because they came to my home after making sure they just went there, talked sweetly. They used to talk to those kind of the people. They came for me at my home, at my comfort zone. They were searching for me like something else. You have to understand it. So when we really come to the enclosure of the time and we understand the real fact about it, there's things that are krakatooing behind the scene. But we're going to be making sure that everything is so good here. Are you talking about the text Walt Whitman gave Ernest? What I'm talking about, Sharilyn, those messages that were in and that were read in Whiteman's channel, they are the same points that were read in the court. Telling you as a fact. That is the fact. Two of them. Even I see Fundi Duke is here. He can tell you, we were me, Fundi Duke, the cousin to Mayani, and the court. Everything was read. We were there, listening. Even if we were stupid not to understand, the prosecutor was reading in English. A translator was there to translate it into Kiswahili. We could even hear every kind of the essential things that were coming out. Kijana Paul talking about if the girl is not pregnant and not by force, this is an easy case. The only thing, guys, Kijana Paul, what I can talk out is already we have settled everything. Is settled. It's only a bond that was being processed. And that is the only biggest way. Much of the people take long. And even much of the people are wondering, Gintu, you have made it in some hours. I've made it in hours. Because I understand the protocol. I understand human beings. I understand the race. I understand the dignity. I understand. Talk about the range or the cage that kind of a person is. So why can't you guys get a lawyer? The second time, because today it was a hearing. The second time, it's gonna be having a lawyer already, because we are getting to the real spot of that one. Seems like Mayani is moving forward. Check Jom. Masubo phone has been returned and it's been over a year with no case. Even I heard about Masubo case, because Masubo case again, it was there to the DCI. They're talking about Masubo's phone. It has been taken for a year. Up to date, it has never been returned. So when you hear about Mayani, so it's 50-50. The phone will be returned or not be returned. And this is just an ego of just a person who is from the same village, passing from the same road, same way, same ancestral people. We have to understand this kind of the scenario, how it's coming out. I didn't say he will get 30 years in jail. We understand, because he's the one who is proposing and is being used like a puppet. Don't be bothered with small boys like that, kind of a stupid, crooked boy. Don't be used to it. We don't have to ourselves to engage with such kind of the minute boys who don't understand the real fact of life. Whenever you see a person is this way and the other person is this way, we had a common enemy. But when you see that person is turning to the same people, you have to understand this is a younger boy who is not understanding. He can never understand himself. Even if we do whatever we want to do, he will never understand. That's the real fact. And somebody is talking about nothing they are doing in justifiable. What is coming out on Friday morning? Git gonna be processing everything. And when I take about the church talking about, I said one day, and I said it yesterday, even if a person has got a murder case, he will ever have the people to stay with the guy. Even if you go to the court, you will find that there's a person who is sitting beside the corner, hearing and talking about, are they going to talk about a bond? And so they can just phone home that, oh, there's a bond, there's this. There must be, even if you have done something terrible. So what is coming out, they're talking about now, they have seen it. Somebody's calling. I'm in the live. Exactly. So what's that's getting on is that Auto Evan taking Miami to jail. He's a sick. Maro family is using the spiritual forces. Guys, be careful. That is an evil family. We have to understand. Talk about kijana. Kijana pole. Prayers and chasing. For ODTP to charge, there's a threshold and evidence. DCI has to meet. These are probably they have to evidence, even though it may seek weak in the stage. Exactly. Auto, I think they are a family. Talk about Gintu. That GoPro is gone. Yeah. No problem. We have to look forward. For the Duke, the goon has a cartoon face. See, there is an agenda at work here. Exactly. Man come home coincidence. If you heard the in a voice under the ear in his eyes when they said they will make sure Mayani suffers. He said he was making his this his mission. He want Mayani in prison for life. It is the second time they are making it. We have to understand it. It's on no way the white man messages is evidence. God help Mayani, send Mayani free. Justice for Mayani. Exactly. Everyone is being attuned and locked in. Thank you very much. So many here. Or somebody, chai. Ginto Ernest is coming for you. He said so in his life. He was even mad about the party you had for the girls. Be alert. I'm not bothered with the small boys. Let him do whatever he want to do. But something is coming out very terrible. That is what I'm telling about. And I'm not just inspirited with this kind of the stupid lunatic psychopath person who is just a tumbocrat person who cannot even understand what is really meant to this kind of the life. And what is always coming in, I'm not intimidated with boys. Like a person who doesn't have a future, whose home is built with other people. Talking about the home is built with the nephews, and even his house is built with a nephew. Very stupid and very uncredentious. And it's just coming out here to tell us, oh, this is what. Don't be bothered with small people like that one. So don't panic with such kind of the lunatic boys here. So it's just putting the stomach front that people think about, oh, you're gonna be having some money. It's just a tumbocrat. Don't be bothered with that one. Everybody is talk about it related. These are pure evil. Exactly. Let him come if he is the one. When we come out evidently to talk about why is a person always coming to talk about, oh, I'm gonna be coming to Gintu, I'm gonna be coming to this, I'm gonna be coming to this. You try your best, because after everything, understand that even you might be part of the program. And to the real effect of the time is I'm not sold with fear. I'm not sold with such kind of the stupidity of a tumbocrat person, that you are just having some issues that, oh, because this kind of the person is now becoming famous than you. Yeah, my brother, talking about I knew. I knew. Thank you. Thank you. Fully, don't get involved. Is Mayani related by blood? Talk about that Tumbo man should be scared, or you. What is always coming out is, guys, don't be bothered with this kind of the small issues. Like somebody's coming out to tell us that, oh, I'm coming to Gintu, I'm coming to this, I'm coming to this, or I'm going to for this, I'm going for that one. That is just but the real fact is, we can never trust a tumbocrat person, and we will never trust this kind of the psychopath person, because we are having demagogues everywhere. We are having demagogues each and every side. Whoever is talking about, yeah, peeping too, peeping this way, the other way. And I can just tell the guy in Swahili here that kama uko na uwezo wa kukuja na unishike mimi kama Gintu, ama uende kotini, ama uende polisi, nenda uandike ripoti kwa polisi, uambie Gintu ni hii na hii na hii, then unikujie. If you can never do that one, you are just talking to the life. Oh, I'm gonna be going to Gintu for what? For your tumbocracy. You will come and I feed you, because I'm hearing that, oh, you're gonna be coming because I had the party for the ladies, for the children to go back to school. It's just coming with the, if you wanted food, come and tell Gintu, please. Gintu, the way things are just getting outside here. You understand this kind of the stomach here, man. It needs food. It needs food. That's what you can just be telling much of the people outside there. But not talking about, oh, hey, I'm coming for you. Coming for Gintu my food. I don't understand this kind of the people. This kind of the YouTube is not entertaining at all. It's the worst. But guys, we are trying to make sure that everything starts coming out very fantastic. But we're gonna be making sure that everything is coming to you live, which is one-on-one, and it's one-on-one reports that are gonna be coming to you and closing. And we have 310 people watching this kind of the live already, and to this kind of the brim point. Thank you very much. Everyone has been democratized and making sure that we are watching and also entertained and getting to the information that are just busting out to this kind of the platform, to make sure that we are getting the justice to Mayani, and it's going to be happening tomorrow. We're going to be processing much of the 2-3 things, and also on Friday early in the morning we're going to be making sure we're getting early in the morning Mayani out. Gintu, did you reach out to Masubo? Yes, I reached out to Masubo early in the morning, but he could just delay us because when I talked about, hey, bro, I'm just in Sirari a little bit here. We are just taking over. Yeah, call me when you are ready. Then it will be just so taking much of the time. And I was making sure I'm processing some 2-3 things and to the bank so I can just go there well prepared. Then I was about, the people had talked about the cousin to Mayani and also the father to Mayani that already reached and talk about even Mayani had already reached to the court and talked about, hey bro, where are you? They have already landed and we were around 20 kilometers far away from us. So I could not talk about how it is, but I informed him very early in the morning that are we going? So he was alert. If he could just be aware of coming, he could just come and make sure that we are just already together because we were together to make it happen. But I talked about even how it was. We settled much of the stuffs and making sure that everything is just getting to the brim point. He should stop going around and placing much over the video. Exactly. So everything is just fantastic, guys. Like the video. We have 79, guys. Let's reach to 100 likes here, and we're gonna be getting out of this kind of the fantastic area of the videoing here. Hello, everyone. Good evening, Team G Castle. Thank you very much. Yes, Masubo said you are not picking his calls. Why? I was in the court. He was calling around at 10 a.m. and I was onto the court. How can you receive a call while in the courtroom? It will be so flabbergastic. And I could not mess with that kind of an opportunity because it could be a total mess. And I was sitting in front there to make sure that I'm hearing everything very fantastic. So sometimes I see some shenanigans coming back. You are the pillar and the leader. Thank you very much. Is Mayani out of custody? Kiafa Nyongesa. Mayani is not yet out of custody because of the processing of the bond. Because I've already processed. Then whenever it was the last moment for us to finish and be signed with the prosecutor was no longer available because we finished nullifying and taking all the papers and the statements where necessary to each and every office, and it was late in the evening, talk about around 17 approaching 18 because I reached in Nyaboanse 18:45 at the evening session. That was the real fact. So it could be a bypass. It's Percy. Hello everyone. Thank you very much, Percy, for you being tuned and locked in. Thank you very much. Everyone is getting to get much of the brim point. What is really happening to Mayani and getting to the fantastic moment that we are here to make sure that Mayani is getting his own justice. Again, blessings to you, Mayani, and your team is Jesus. Thank you very much. Hello, Percy. Hello, Percy. Watch Ernesto video. Watch Ernesto video. What are they talking about? I saw even when I was in the courtroom, I saw the call of Mogesi. I saw the call of Masubo, and I was in the courtroom, and we were told. And when the court was starting, we were told, put your phone silent or kaboomnet it, making sure that the phone is not longer working completely. And we were told if it rings onto the court, you will be taken. There is something that it will be taken to you. Talk about a fine will be taken from you. And I talked about, hey, a fine again, and we are there to hey, all this Chai exactly. Thank you, Shani. Again, tomorrow is your country. He is in Nairobi already. So watch you all backs. Thank you very much. I get to the stomach guy say he is jealousy for you in his life. So sad. I get it. Thank you, Gintu. Thank you very much, Shari. Shani, you see the movements? Interesting. Exactly. But what is already about is even Mayani called me while he was on the way to the prison. He told me that he never knew that much of the people will democratize. I'll ever be there to make it happen. He was ever crying unto the custody of Isibania, talking about who will ever care for me. His father needs care also. So who gonna be caring for them? I took that kind of the opportunity to make sure that even him can feel that he has some people who can just make sure that he's feeling at home, he's feeling like a person, he's feeling like others. Despite that, much of the people are bringing some shenanigans, talking about, oh, you could be this way, it could be that way. But everybody has a passion. Everybody knows the front. Nobody knows your front. Nobody knows that this is how you will be. But he was even talking about, I will go until Friday. I had, and even Fundi Duke talked to him and gave him this kind of a morale that we are trying. Because even how the police were just looking at him, calling his names, even not called Mayani again, not called Brian again. They were calling him names which were terrible names and disgusting names. And if it could be somebody, you could be talking about, I'm worthless to this kind of the world. But to the real fact, he had much of the people and to the field to make it happen. And we were there. We should be there. I will be there. And it will be there. And everybody bothered that, oh, this thing's going to be not this way. Let's make everything get forward. And let's make the brim point get forward. Everybody had been tuned. Let's get to 100 likes, guys. We had 96 likes. Hello, Brogintu. Hope this matter can be settled sooner than later. And tell your friend Mayani to be very careful and his words. Reasoning, and you can sit Mayani down once he is out of this. Exactly. Stomach, guys, is willing to destroy some of the YouTuber, including Mayani. Sad guy. He need to go to the gym. Exactly. Evil people, bad mind is a disease. Cecile Hubbard, you are on one today, and right behind you. Exactly. Fatma, hello. Ernest can lose subscribers soon. Evil man. This same guy who bought the rumor that Percy. What a shame. It's Percy. Hey, thank you. Fatma JR Bingo. Everyone, please pray for the Brian. 105 likes. Thank you very much. Ask a lawyer how to counter sue these two demagogues. Thank you. Sunflower, who is wicked soul. Address is a bad mind. Exactly. We don't want liars. We are not here to be cheated. Nobody is cheated here. That is the fact. Because I understand to the real fact, everything goes round and it will come round. And you will get it the way it is. Be careful, Gintu, you are the real target. Kenya is back in Kenya. I'm not bothered with Kenya anymore. Because he's going to be coming to his own family, doing his own things. We will be meeting in our own lands. That is the real fact. He has a land very near to my land. I'm going to be checking him. Everything's going to be so fantastic. Stomach guy, we can call him Tumbocrat. Say Tumbocrat. Tumbocrat. Tumbocrat is looking for money for building his house. I've told you he doesn't have money. Even his home is built with cousins who have joined hands because of their mother, who is coming from the wealthy family. Talk about at least a moderate family. And they have seen their aunt, who is the mother to Tumbocrat. She's suffering from the same background the Tumbocrat is living. And they are just building their home and renovating the home and the houses of even these demagogues. No problem. My own accuser is a bad seed. Sense trolling, and then return to the boss. Pamela Modesta high. Ernest will rub what he saw. Yes, Carol. Always checking on YouTube in Kenya. Ojitwe, tell him because he is he's the danger. Kenya never forgives. The guy, you must be careful by now because the village boss has. Who is the village boss? Village driver. Who is the village boss? Demagogues? Let them out. Inter Milan scored. Inter Milan has scored a goal. Gintu, God bless you. And thank you very much, guys. And you commenting and making sure that we're just ever together to make sure that everything is just coming to you live, which is one-on-one. I'm getting to this kind of the 10th, which is 1 hour and 10 minutes here, and just getting out of this kind of the brim point. Thank you very much for you being tuned and locked in. Bye-bye. And check you and next time and getting to this kind of the platform. Thank you very much for being tuned in and locked in. Here is the end.